Whenever anybody says to me, God said something to them, I don't question them. I don't question them, but I don't go about saying God told me this and God told me that. And we need to be careful. In this ministry, we don't do that. There's a song that said, don't say God say when you know he didn't say. And so please stay out of it. And I just want you to remember that God is the one, and First Lady said it. He raises up kings, he brings down kings for his own purpose. Nebuchadnezzar wasn't a man of God. He wasn't, and yet God used him. God used him to deal with his own people. So it's not so much about the individual. So people might be saying, well, Donald Trump is this and that and the other. But it's not about him. God wants to get his agenda going. He wants to do what he wants to do. And so sometimes he raises up people that may not even be of him. I'm not saying that is the case now, but that's what he does. All right. One time the Israelites were under the Assyrians, they were under when Jesus was there, they were under the Romans. The Romans were ruling. Before that, the Greeks. So God will get done what he wants done. So just remember that, please, okay? Secondly, before we go in, I want to acknowledge a gentleman. He was on last evening and I didn't realize it. And I want to acknowledge him because he was here before and he went away from us and he's back with us. And I want everybody tonight, as we usually do when somebody new comes on, we want to welcome back. I think under this he has Brother Dale. His name is Dale St. Louis. I know, but he was incarcerated, and I know in the prison they used to call him Pastor Dale, because I heard a couple of people refer to him. He's a man on fire for God, and I really want to acknowledge him because I'm seeing what God is doing in his life. And I want to tell you that one of these nights, we're going to have him on to share his experience. He's a man who loves the Lord. He's on fire for God. I see that in him. And I just want to acknowledge Brother Dale here tonight. We welcome you back. And as I said it to you and I'm saying it to them now. I want you to share your testimony with us. I'm going to tell you when we're going to do that because I know you have a lot to share. And I know it's going to be powerful. I know you're going to minister to a whole lot of people. So I just want to thank you for being on, my brother. And great things are in store for you. Great things are in store for you. You didn't give up, and you're here. God bless you. Okay, so we want to continue with where we left off last evening. We are talking about leadership. And we are looking at the word leader as an acronym, L-E-A-D-E-R, when we're using leaders. And we are in the letter D, and we looked at discipline. And last evening, we were talking about determination. People who are determined. Determined people are bold. They're purposeful. They're courageous. Much like Dale, as a matter of fact. He reminds me of a determined person. And they always come out on top. And they're creative, they're resourceful, they're innovative. That's determined people. They find ways of doing things. I think I told you last evening, I wanted to learn to play the guitar. I didn't have a guitar and I didn't know anything. I didn't have money to take lessons, but I was determined to learn to play the guitar, and I learned to play. I learned to play it so much that I used to accompany people. I used to play it in church. I used to play, my guitar used to soothe me. Whenever I had issues or challenges, I just go sit down and play my guitar by myself and sing. And it was a tremendous comfort for me because I was determined to play this thing. Determined people are not stopped by failure. They see them as setbacks and they use them as stepping stones to greater things. I was looking at the concession speech today by Kamala Harris. And I'm saying, I trust Lady you, and I was talking to her, not a party or anybody. I was saying, I hope that you are determined enough to use this as a setback, as a stepping stone to greater thing, because you don't know what is going to happen in the future. You don't, because you didn't get through today, you put on, you hang up your boots, or you put on your guns or everything, and you leave and you go. No. If you are determined, you will say, okay, I failed. Why did I fail? What did I do wrong? And you move on. That's a determined person. A determined person makes a path of their own. You might see a dead end, and they say, listen, no, I have to go from here to there. And they make a path where there is no path. They go where no man has gone before, like Star Trek. That's determined people. That's the kind of quality a determined person has. A determined person is a pioneer. They do new things that have not been done before. When people say, you mad? We don't do it that way. I never heard about that. Or people try that before, it didn't work. Determined people don't hear these things. Once they know what they want to do, they're going to do it. They know it must be done. They go and they get it done. Do you know that there was one time when you couldn't have drums in the church? The drum that Brother Beans could tell you that. In the church, the drums that you go and you hear every Sunday or whenever you go to church, there was a time when that was a thing of the world. They didn't want that in church. They didn't want steel pan in church. But there were people who were determined to ensure that these things were a part of our worship. And they pushed for it. And they pushed for it. And they endured ridicule. You go to church and you sing like songs like what's the song that this lady sing? I am anointed. I mean, we sing that now. Soca. We soccerize the song. There was a time when you couldn't sing soca and calypso in church. But there were people who were determined, went through all kind of ridicule. And I was one of them who went through all kind of ridicule. Imagine, and I think I shared it before, went on a tour of the Caribbean. A group of us, is about 10 of us, singing in a church. And the pastor passed a note to us to tell us to stop. We are ministering, singing, and we were told to stop in the middle of what we were doing because people started to leave. They couldn't understand calypso in church, and they started to leave. But what we found out is that while we were singing, some of the fellas who were liming outside by the block who never came into church, they were coming in. While the Christians were leaving, they were coming in. Who did God send us to? To the unsaved. You have to be determined because people will criticize you. People will say, see this gospel thing, this Christian thing, I don't want nothing to do with it. You have to be determined. I remember as well, I remember there was a concert in Trinidad. I'm not going to call the name of the concert. It had a particular name. And they used to bring down these well-known gospel singers to be part of it. And we used to go to the concert and everybody used to enjoy it. And I remember one year, myself and others who used to sing gospel so was invited to perform in the concert. And the organizers of the concert, well, not the organizers, some people who were involved, I don't know what their affiliation to the concert was. They pulled out. They said, we ain't want this calypso thing. And they didn't call it by the name we call it gospel. So they said, we don't want the calypso. And they pulled out of this big concert because we were going to be a part of it. You get all kind of ridicule. People say all sorts of things about you, but if you are determined, those things fall on you like water on a duck's back because you know that you're doing the right thing. I remember a pastor a long time ago, he was my pastor, and he was upset with me because I sang gospel so. He was upset. And I remember having a conversation with him. And he said, so you see yourself like Sparrow? And I said, but I'm not like Sparrow. I'm not Sparrow. So something came up, and I said, but yeah, I do sing calypso, all right? But or he was saying that we were having this conversation, and I mentioned calypso, and he didn't want me, because he didn't want like me singing it, and he didn't want me to call it a calypso. He accepted gospelypso because it had the word gospel in it. So I remember that day we were having this conversation, and I was saying, Pastor, it's the same thing, right? It's the same beat. It's just that the lyrics are different. The lyrics is about the gospel, the good news. And he was upset and angry. So you see yourself just like Sparrow. I said, I'm not Sparrow, Pastor. And he was vexed. So you are Calypsonian now? I said, well, yes, I'm a Calypsonian, but I'm a Calypsonian that sings gospel. And this man was angry. But I was determined that even though he was my pastor and he was angry, I knew what God had called me to do. And sometimes determination causes you to go beyond even those in authority. I'm not talking about being rebellious. I'm not talking about being disobedient. But when God calls you to something, you have to be determined enough to carry it out, see it through to the end. That determination. And that's a quality that we should have. And in particular, that's a quality that a leader should have. He must be determined to see the thing through to the end. Determined people are conquerors. They conquer. Like the same Nebuchadnezzar we were talking about. Nebuchadnezzar was determined to capture Judah, to expand his kingdom. And he did. People like Alexander the Great, people like the pharaohs, people like the man who just won the US election, Donald Trump. Determination. They rejected him in the poll the last time. They rejected him. But he was determined enough to come back and say, I am putting my hat in the ring one more time. And because he was so determined, there he is now, the president-elect. It's not about lifting him up, but I'm talking about the quality of determination. Do you have that? Do you possess that? Determined people have 9 lives like a cat. They refuse to go down. They refuse to quit. That's the kind of quality kingdom citizens are supposed to have, and in particular, a leader in the kingdom. They refuse to quit. Those of us who saw the Avengers movies, some of you may not know what I'm talking about. This Captain America, even though he was small and skinny at the time, and he was fighting, and the fellow was bigger than him, and he's knocking him down, and he get up, and he's getting up, and he said, I could do this all day. I could do this all day. He was determined not to stay down. Even though the person was bigger than him and stronger than him, he was determined not to stay down. A righteous man falls 7 times, but he rises again. That's determination. Determination says, I will not give up. I will not quit. I will not throw in the towel. People who invented things, great inventors, they were determined people. You know what time people who invented things, the things that we use now, that we take for granted, people tried and tried. They tried and they failed, and they tried and they failed, and they tried and they failed, and they tried and tried and tried until they got it right. Now we come in, we go into a room, we flick on a switch, the light comes on, and we take that for granted. We get in we traveling, we go in a plane, and we fly from here to there, and we take that for granted. But people who were determined, because they were determined, we enjoy the benefits of their determination today. It's a quality that you should have. And if you aspire to be a leader, you must be determined. Determined people are affected by they affect the environment. And they're not affected by the environment. They affect the environment. They change the environment. Let me tell you a story. I know you know this story, but I want you to listen to it again with new ears, as I always tell you, because we always learn something new. The story is about a young woman who went to her mother, and she told her how things were going bad for her. She was talking about her life. She didn't know how she was going to make it. She wanted to give up. She was tired of fighting and struggling. And it seemed as though, one problem come up. When she solved that problem, another one come, and another one come, like kind of like Job. And she was fed up. She was frustrated. She was frustrated. And her mother said, come. And took her to the kitchen. And the mother filled 3 pots with water. And in the first pot, she placed carrots, some carrots. In the second pot, she placed some eggs. And in the last pot, she placed some coffee, ground coffee beans. And she lit the pot on the fire and it set it to boil. And she didn't say anything. And in about 20 minutes, she turned off the burners. So she took out the carrots, she placed them in a bowl. She took out the eggs, placed them in another bowl. And she took the coffee and threw it in a bowl. And she asked her daughter, well, what do you see? And the daughter said, well, I see carrots, I see eggs, I see coffee. So the mother brought them closer to her and asked her to feel the carrots. And she felt the carrots and she noticed that they were soft. And then she asked her to take an egg and break it. So she took it and her mother showed her, she cracked the shell and she noticed that the egg was not, when if you shake an egg, you know something in it. But when she took off the shell, it was hard. And then she asked her to sip the coffee. And she said, whoa, the coffee tastes nice. And so she asked her mother, so what's your point, Mom? And her mother explained to her that each of them had faced the same circumstance, boiling water, hot boiling water, but each of them reacted differently. The carrot went in hard. It was hard and strong when she put it in the water, but after being subjected to the boiling water, it became soft and weak. The egg was fragile. If you dropped it, it would have broken into pieces and it would have spilled out. But now the egg was hard. And then the coffee, she realized that the water had changed. The coffee had changed the water. And her daughter got it. And she asked her daughter, so which one are you, my daughter? When adversity comes to you, how do you respond? Are you like the carrot that you become soft and complain and woe is me? You were strong before, but because of what you're going through, you become soft? Or like the egg, you're there and things happen and you become tough and hard and nobody could talk to you. And you become bold and you become, a kind of way that you just give up on people and you treat people badly because of what you're going through? Or are you like the coffee bean? That because of the heat, you change the circumstance. Ordinary water became coffee, drinkable coffee, because of the fire that was below it. And this is what we are talking about with determined people. When you are determined, circumstances come your way. And because of the circumstances, you're not going to allow it to get you soft. You're not going to allow it to get you hard. But you are going to take the circumstance and you are going to create something out of it that not only you, but others could benefit from. That's determination. That's what a determined person does. It is a determined person is not affected by the adversity of life. They become stronger, they become better, they become someone that somebody could learn from, could benefit from. Because all of us face adversity in life. All of us. You know what is interesting? You know the story of the sower that went forth sowing, and some seed fell on different type of soil. One of the things that always came to my mind is this. The sun came out and scorched it, and it died. That's one of them. The heat of the sun scorched the plant, and it died. But what came to my mind as I read it, do you know that a plant needs the sun? It needs the heat of the sun. So the same thing that it needed is the same thing that killed it. It's how it responded. The soil is what made the difference. It wasn't grounded. So the heat that it needed killed it. And I'm saying some of the things that you're going through, you need it. Some of the things that are happening to you in your life, you need for it to happen. You're looking at it as hardship. You're looking at it as woe is me. Why? Why am I going through this thing? But this is the thing that God is sending to blossom you, for you to grow, because you need it like a plant needs the sun. But if you allow it, if you only complain about it, if you only feel the heat, it's going to kill you. It's going to damage you. It's going to destroy you. You have to be determined. And that's what makes the difference. You have to be determined. I don't care what happened to you. You got a stroke, or you got sick, or whatever it is. You have to be determined enough to know, listen, God allowed this to happen to me, but this is not going to keep me back. This is not going to veer me off course. This is not going to make me quit and say, as Job's wife said, curse God and die. Whatever happens, to you in your life, be determined enough to rise above those circumstances, to rise above whatever it is that has happened to you, to do something about your situation rather than letting your situation do something to you. You have to be determined that this is not going to kill me. This is not going to destroy me. I am better than this. I am stronger than this. I am smarter than this. I am wiser than this. I am the righteousness of God in Christ. And you start declaring who you are. I hope you're hearing me. Because your circumstance may not be my circumstance. But God allowed you, and He's allowing you to go through what you're going through, not to kill you, because the Son was sent by God. The Son was sent by God. And that same Son destroyed the plant. Don't let it destroy you. A leader must be determined to change his environment. You might be leading people that are stubborn. You might be leading people who say, take me back to Egypt. You bring me out here to kill me. You have to be determined enough to say, no, this is where we're going. We are going to the promised land. You as a leader have to be determined to make it. Because you're seeing the same thing that they're seeing. You're experiencing the same thing that they're experiencing, but you have to be different. You have to be strong. You have to be resilient. You have to say, listen, I know you're see in front of you and you're seeing the chariots behind you, but I want to tell you something. We are going across the sea. And if you're determined enough, the miracle will come. God will send a category 5 hurricane. Again, something that could destroy them. Category 5 hurricane and move back the water so you could go through. As a leader, you've got to be determined. Don't let people cause you to turn back and to look back and to complain. Are you hearing me? Determination is a quality that you must have. Determined leaders possess a strong sense of purpose. You know your purpose, and you're willing to do whatever it is to accomplish that purpose. As a leader, you have to do what is necessary for you to succeed, not just for you to succeed, but for everybody else to succeed. Today, I was feeling pain in my chest, even though I got a call, say we needed to come out to work today. I get called at short notice. Got a call. And I could have laid on my bed and say, you know what? My chest is hurting me. I'm not 100% well yet. Let me not go. But I know what God has called me to do. And if that call came for me to go, then I know God is the one who's orchestrated that. And I got up and I went. And the place was cold. I had to put on what they call it, a beanie in my head. I had to cloak up in the studio. I did that because I was determined that no cold in my chest, no weakness in my body was going to keep me back from going to minister, because this is what God called me to do. I was determined, and because I was determined, I went. And I could have come home and lie down too and say, well, you know what? Not tonight. But I was determined to be here to share with you what God has placed in my heart. That's what determination does. It strengthens you. It gives you the impetus to move forward and to do what has to be done. Determined people are not deterred by setbacks or failures or sickness or whatever. Determined people possess a resilient spirit that causes you to push through adversity. We need determined people. You need to be determined. Every one of us needs to be determined. And how much more if you're in a leadership position? People cannot be more determined than you if you're a leader. If you're a leader, you have to lead. Remember, as I told you, when you're a leader, when Jesus said, let me put it this way. When Jesus said, follow me, he didn't mean to walk behind him. That's not what he meant. Follow me meant and still means do what I do. Do it the way I do it. Say what I say. That's what following is. So as a leader, whatever you want your people to do, you have got to do it so that they will follow you. It's not just about saying, follow me. It's about doing things so that they would see and they would follow. That's why Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. That's what following, that's what a leader, that's what leading is. So when you want people to follow you, do the right thing. Do the thing that when you look at them, you see them doing what you have done. So you follow Christ. And if they are following you, then they would be following Christ too. Yes? So, be determined. Be determined. It's for every one of us, but I'm talking particularly to leaders. Be determined. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Don't quit. You're running the race, make sure your chest touch that tape. Don't give up before. Do whatever you need to do to make it through to the end. Bible says, he that endureth to the end shall be saved. Jesus says, he said, nobody who puts his hand to the plow and turn back or look back is fit for the kingdom of heaven. You have to go forward. Push forward. I don't know what maybe your plans were for this year, and things haven't been happening the way you want them to happen. But if you're determined enough, you will go and pick up the pieces. You will go and you will get yourself up, because maybe you've fallen. Maybe you have fallen. Get up. Push past the pain. Dust yourself off. Put some plaster on your foot if you have to. And push forward. That's what a determined person does. Failure is not an option for a determined person. Failure is not an option. Are you hearing me? Let's all be determined. We will make it through to the end. And you see those 3 days coming up? You must be determined to complete the 3 days. You must be determined. Even now, your determination will help you do the things that need to be done. You see, we are putting in the chat what you're supposed to be doing now. Don't eat after 7. Certain things you're supposed to cut out. If you are determined, because listen, one of the things we have found in fasting is that whenever you see you're going into a fast, especially when you're in the fast itself, people come around you with food. And the food that you like, the thing that you're weak to, somehow they just find a way there. When you're fasting, people come around you and invite you to go out, to go watch a movie, to go and do this and go and do that. Or you get an opportunity, hey, listen, I have some tickets for this thing, and you don't get these tickets, so. So they come and they offer it to you. You have to be determined enough to say, no, I am not doing this thing. I can't do it. If you want to live right, you have to be determined to live right. Are you hearing me? I trust that you are. I really, really trust that you are. God bless you. I'm going to end here for tonight. We're going to continue another time. But determination is key to make it to the end. If you have no determination, you'll stay right where you are, and in fact, you'll turn back. But determination say, I will not stop, and even if I slip and fall, I will get up, and I will keep pushing. I will keep going. I will not quit. God bless you. Have a wonderful night. I'm not going to ask if you have any questions, because if you had questions, you put up your hand. Do you have any question? If you do, put up your hand. If not, I'm handing back over to Minister Joshua, and he's going to close up. God bless you. Have a wonderful night. I love you all.